What is going on, Legionnaires? Happy Sunday. This is At Weeks in the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics, movies, news, all that good stuff. And tonight's a special episode because we have comics to spoil, news to talk, but we also have a brand new feature film from DC Comics to break down and spoil as well. None other than Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. It's going to be a 3-part conclusion to what's called the Tomorrowverse. We're about to get into all that and more. Check this out. Huge shout out to Big Time Collectibles. You can find them on their website, social medias, whatnot. They're doing all their MegaCon drops and exclusives and announcement. Make sure you don't miss out on any of that cool stuff. Even if you can't make MegaCon, they do offer them up a little bit early for those that can't make with a small allocated amount. Paul, are you going to MegaCon this year?
I am not.
He is not. No. You know who else is not going to MegaCon?
Who?
Justin's Comics. But if you need anything cleaned or pressed, it's okay because you can mail it to him. You can find his link in the description. It'll take you straight to his Instagram. Be sure to let him know you found him via the channel. Take advantage of any potential special offers or anything that he has going on.
I'm not sure that MegaCon will actually. I'm not sure that MegaCon will actually happen this year because I'm pretty sure that hell just froze over because you started at 8:30.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. You know where hell doesn't freeze over? That's ABX Comics and Games right here in Augusta, Georgia. If you're looking for a brick and mortar LCS or a long distance comic shop to pull your books and mail them to you, check out ABX Comics and Games. There's a link in the description that takes you to their Facebook group. It's a great place to connect, see what's coming out, chit chat with other people, as well as a lot of tabletop gaming. They have a lot of cool gaming stuff going on over there all the time. Also in the link is a link to Pop's Attic on Instagram. That's where I offload any comics I'm getting rid of, as well as Pops is thinning out the collection as well for can't beat it prices. Yeah. Real quick, how are you doing, Paul?
I am doing well. Thank you for
I like your shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not actually going to any cons this year because I'm actually trying to save my money to get a really, really important book that I want.
Oh, is that shirt a hint?
It could be, but
oh. TM, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
That's fantastic. Let's see how everyone else is doing. Las Cruces clocking in first. Good morning to you, sir. 11:53 a.m. on there. Came back at 4:05 to rub it in people's faces, and then clocked in back at 6:52 for the hooray. TM member, 18-month member milestone. # We Are Legion. Didn't know it's been that long. It's been a long time. Been a long time. I appreciate you, Sir Timothy Nerdy. What is going on, Jeff? Greetings to you. Glad to see you updating on social media. He went under the knife, and it looks like he came out the other side, so that's definitely a good thing. Have you been here since 11:53? All right, let's see what else we got. Scrolling. What is going on, Scott? Scott, I got to tell you, you'll be excited to see the video that I put out Wednesday. Get a special shout out for a very special reason in that video. I was very excited. Me and Pops went and I took the kids. We did a little running around town this weekend. Found something really cool. Really cool. What is going on, Trev, the shipping guru? Good evening to you. Hope you're doing good. Comic Vet is in the building. What is up, fam? How are you doing today? Hope you're doing good, Chris. Hope you had a good weekend. That was an awesome happy birthday package that Chris put together from a lot of us here in the community to send Rob on his birthday yesterday. If you missed that, during the end of Only Slabs yesterday over on Rob's Fat Sacks channel, there's a happy birthday collaborative video that Chris pieced together from a lot of community members for Rob. It was really funny. Be sure to check that out if you missed it. I heard it's even better than Crisis on 2 or 3 Earths. It has to be, right? The more the merrier. What is going on, Svon82? Hope you're doing good tonight. Hope you had a good weekend as well. Pops, what is up? Brother John Comics in the building. What is good? Greeting Legion room persons. There you go. That kind of covers it all. 15-month member milestone. Time flies from Trev the Shipping Guru. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Wednesday, Sledgehammer won. Him and Sledgehammer, I swear to God. Yeah, Rob turned 80. Big shout out to Rob.
Doesn't look a day over 79.
Yeah, it doesn't look a day over 79. So small crowd tonight. You definitely called it, Paul.
Mhm.
Yeah, 8 people watching. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. We got some stuff to cover and some stuff to talk, but we're definitely going to kick it off with Crisis on Infinite Earths chat. Just checked them at 2 years, 2 months, 21 days. Boom. Big shout out to Jeff, aka Headquake. So yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 released on physical media this past week. TM Nerdy had already watched it on digital, but I just got around to seeing it as I waited for the physical and not wanting to buy it twice kind of thing. And yeah, it's Part 1. They're doing it in 3 parts, and it's going to be the official ending to the current animated movie universe. Apparently that's how media works now. We have like the MCU is its own little universe that's ongoing. The DCEU came and went. It's over now. The DC animated universe finished with the Apocalypse War, and they started a new one that they've dubbed it the Tomorrowverse. It's ran for roughly, I think, around 10 films.
Mhm.
And now we're doing the big finale to it with Crisis on Infinite Earths and Part 1. Where would y'all rate it if we're just going around doing the initial rating scale that we do for these? Where would y'all put it?
I would say like 7.5. I think of 10 probably. I liked it a lot. It was interesting too to watch. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the extras or whatever the two.
I watched one of them.
They,
The
they
Road to
yeah,
one.
they talked about the fact that it's the 10 movies and they had basically specific things that they needed to do in each of those 10 movies in order to set up the Crisis on Infinite Earth. So
They
that was
used
kind of
War
interesting.
World as a red herring.
Right, exactly. But they had the World War II one, which set up the concept of other Earths. They had one that introduced Martian Manhunter because they needed to get him introduced. They had all these different things. They had Supergirl because she's going to play an important part
They acknowledged in the
of
special
part
feature
two.
Lobo was introduced specifically because we will see him again.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I liked it. It was the storyline was different than if you're thinking it's going to be the 12 issue miniseries. It's going to be like that. It is different in a lot of ways, which it has to be, I think, in a lot of ways because the the comic books were designed to do something a little bit different than what the movies are doing. So I was okay with that, but I enjoyed it.
Tim, where would you put it on your scale?
I put it at an 8.5 out of 10 as my initial rating. I posted it on IG when I first watched it. I still put it up there. I'm like, the art still takes me out of it. It took me out of it more my second time watching it than it did my first time, and it just felt like Archer was doing a spoof on superheroes. So
Yeah, it was funny you
Yeah,
say
it
that
felt
because
like
I
that.
was one of the things I noticed too was that there was like if you look at Barry Allen, he had the dark around everything except for his hair. When it got to his blonde hair, there was no black outlines around it. It was just the
Oh
blonde hair.
no. And I got to say, so I watched it and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I saw positive feedback from TM, negative feedback from Flo Dameron, and I watched it. And I got to tell you guys, I have to put this movie at a low green. It's green for me. Like it was legit. It was good. I enjoyed it. There's things I think it was fairly easy to separate the comic from the movie in this situation. It's easy, I guess, in a lot of ways, but I didn't go into it with expecting it to be too close. And I knew that like we're going to be doing a Crisis of the Tomorrowverse. Really, the only knock I have against this movie and a lot of these movies in the Tomorrowverse is the god awful audio editing. It's god awful. Like it is legitimately god awful. And when I say god awful, I mean god awful because this is how they talk in the entire movie with these long pauses and frozen frames. Like I don't understand why it's like that in this movie universe, but it takes me out of it. I'm like in a dynamic moment. It's got momentum, and they're still talking like that. It's like, yo, you need to clip those literal half seconds out of those scenes. Like, who cares if
there
it
was
makes a whole 3 minutes shorter by the time you're done? You have to take those out to get that fluidness that it's missing.
there was one voice actor that I really liked. Whoever I didn't look it up or anything, but whoever voiced the question, I like that
Mm.
actor who portrayed that character. They picked the right character to voice.
Right, and he was in one of the little showcase shorts at the end of one of the movies as well.
All the Charlton characters
Exactly.
were.
Yeah. So it was interesting. There were also some little things that were in there. Some little things that I picked out. Like they only listed one actor at the beginning. That was Matt Bomer because
He plays Superman, right? No,
he
he
was
was
the
the Flash.
No,
Flash.
Flash.
So you knew it was going to be a Flash movie. Okay. And then they listed the cast at the end. But then they did things like when they were talking about the Justice League of America, and they went to the Hall of Justice, and they said, this was it was a former metro station or something like that. That's like a direct reference to, if you know anything about the Super Friends, the Hall of Justice from the Super Friends, the building was designed after the Cincinnati train station. So it was like, it was just a little nod to, to the history of the DC universe, if you know it. And those little things I kind of like, and I see if I'm like, oh, I caught that reference.
Yeah, it's the Cincinnati, Ohio train station. Because I collect stamps, I kept the 4 unique ones on this sheet, and it's actually pictured right there.
Yep.
I also did like how like we got to see like what was happening in the past, what was happening in the future through Barry's mind, and like I like the transition. Like you just see him start running, and then it would be into a different time, a different era, and I really like that.
Yeah, well, the time slipping stuff was really cool. That was one thing that was kind of like unique to the focus of this film, was like the Barry being untethered from a linear time stream. So the whole premise of this movie was like becoming aware of the antimatter wall coming, gathering the heroes together, and then trying to stop it. So some of the bigger points that they hit on in the process that I really enjoyed, that I was excited about, because it made the cover of the movie. But you have the villains of Earth 3, which are like the heroes of our Earth. You have the crime syndicate that are heavily featured in the beginning of Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was one of the biggest things that drew me into enjoying the crime syndicate so much, was Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I was on the phone with my pops, and I'm like, I got to go. I want to see if Ultraman says the tagline, because I remember it so vividly from being a little kid, watching them look at their Earth getting destroyed with this antimatter wave coming, and Ultraman looking back at his partners and them asking, what are you doing? And he's like, it's kind of weird. We spend our entire life trying to destroy this world, and we spend the last moments of it trying to save it. And he just flies into the antimatter. Like, I'm like, dude, that as a kid reading, I'm like, that's crazy. He just gave up. He just, like, that weight that he felt. I don't know why it conveyed so well in that scene. And I was watching and waiting on it to happen in the movie. And they did their version of it to a degree, and they really gave that moment to Owlman, because you see Ultraman just kind of give up and go into the stream. Power Ring follows him, and Barry gets the opportunity to talk to Owlman. He's like, "Yo, what are you doing? Like this is impossible. This is crazy." And Owlman made some kind of reference, like, in Completely Unbeatable Odds, sometimes the crazy choice is the only rational choice you have, and he just flies off. But it was pretty cool how that they kind of drug that scene out, and you see them trying a lot harder to stop the wall, but eventually they go down. It was wicked. I enjoyed that aspect a lot. What is going on? Entropy in comics.
We would not be a discussion of Crisis on Infinite Earths without entropy in comics.
You got to have entropy. I get that reference. Yeah, that was a great aspect of it. But all the heroes get plucked and gathered at the Great Hall in the Cosmos, where they get to meet the Monitor, and they get told what's happening and what's going on. And that was one of the better scenes that are enjoyable as a comic fan, to get to play the who's who and pluck all the characters that out, because they had a ton in there. There had to be like 50 unique characters all in that room together. I enjoyed the aspect that that realization that they weren't there to fight this thing. This is a think tank. We have all the smartest minds of the heroes and villains all in here together. We have all the heaviest hitters and the fastest runners in order to put your plan and make it a reality. If you need something built, these people can lift and move fast. So it's all here. And they come up with the tuning forks, the giant tuning towers, thanks to the realization that Barry is time slipping and vibrating through the multiverse. So like if we can make the entire planet do that, maybe the wave will just come through us. And there was the biggest difference that I actually enjoyed was the introduction of Amazo to the story. He was a big player in this.
He was, yes. And he wasn't even anywhere in the original story.
Mm-mm. They made him very important character too. He was like Wally's inspiration, or not Wally. I'm reading Flash right before this.
Yeah.
He was Barry's inspiration for trying to get this thing put together and keep time slipping. But how did y'all enjoy the whole time slipping thing and the untethered thing? Because it made a unique format to the storytelling in this, with it bouncing around.
Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed that way of storytelling, and how it just kind of flipped. Like it's like, okay, we're at this portion of time for Barry, or we're in the future now, and he's old, and you're like, what's going on here? It's like I liked it because like you didn't understand what was happening at first until like he got further into it. Like he woke up as an old person, him and Iris, and then you'd see this bird just kind of slowly flapping outside the window, and that with a worm in its mouth. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? And then you find out that he had to stop time to continue to build this thing with Amazo to stop this antimatter wave coming. I really enjoyed that portion of this movie.
Yeah, I mean there were also some, there were plenty of nods to the original series too. There was Barry, warning people in different times, that things were coming. We don't see the Anti-Monitor yet, which is different than we would have had in the comics.
He wasn't even mentioned.
Right.
They just
I'm thinking he's going to be. I'm thinking he's going to be the big bad in the second movie, and that's how Supergirl's going to die, because that's what happens in the series. So, because the second movie is supposed to be, if you look at the trailer, it's supposed to be very Supergirl centric in a lot of ways.
I haven't even watched the trailer yet. I didn't want to until I watched this one.
Yeah, it's very Supergirl centric in the trailer for the second movie. Yeah.
Birthday to House of L just celebrated a birthday.
Nice. We don't get the shadow demons, or whatever you want to call them, from the comics as well. But like I said, a lot of that stuff, there's just so much that happens in the comics that there's no way they could possibly put it in a movie and not have the movie be like 8 hours long.
Well, they have 3 of them.
Yeah.
It gives us like what, 5.5 hours.
And this one was probably the longest of any movie so far. It was over an hour and a half.
Yeah,
which is the longest of any of the animated movies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So another one, calling back to it, it really opens up when we introduce the viewers to the characters via the story of Amazo, which is the android that has the ability to mimic the Justice League powers built by the mad scientist and everything. And what was cool is he's just cool. Like if you follow this channel, Amazo gets mentioned every time Failsafe does. Like Failsafe is the most pointless character that's ever been invented. Sure, the story's fun, whatever. You should have just put Amazo in there. Anyways, but Amazo has this awesome fight with the Justice League, and it was just really cool, like an angle they took of just pure misunderstanding of his Prime Directive. And it was cool watching them crack and slant the Prime Directive and watching this android learn. And once he did, watching him ally with the Flash and help him to create the tuning forks. And we get the tuning tower scene with Flash where he's actually firing up, because we do get to the point where they've built the towers on the different Earths that have the wave coming, and we see the Flash running on it's not a cosmic treadmill. It would be a cosmic hamster wheel.
Exactly.
Running on the cosmic hamster wheel with what remains of Amazo, which is pretty much just his head wired in to the tower to help boost it and run the Speed Force energy through it and stuff. And it worked. It fired off really well. I thought that was really cool, that whole angle. And then you got to see Flash kind of like I was waiting on the die, and I think that's what I kind of want to touch on next. I don't know if he's alive or dead based on the way that this movie ends. You see him have heavily affected by the hamster wheel run, and then we get introduced to one of my favorite DC characters right at the end when we cut to the wave passing through the planets, cut back to the Monitor, and he's visited by one of the most powerful entities in all of DC Comics, who shows up to him to have a conversation with him, none other than the Wrath of God itself, the Spectre. And he has a brief conversation with him about like, congratulations, you did what here? What was the point of all of this when you know what's come? What did you accomplish? And the monitor's basically like, I don't know, introducing them to the idea of something terrible's coming. Like, and the Spectre dips out real fast, and he goes and visits Barry Allen for a brief second. And Barry in his weakened state, it was a really cool scene, in my opinion, where he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm the Wrath of God." He's like, "Oh my God, you're here to kill me." He's like, "No, you're untethered. You got worse things going on. Just know you got a lot more you need to do." And then he dips out. We see now Barry starts time slipping backwards to find, I guess, the catalyst of all of this. That was that kind of that cliffhanger ending they gave us, where he starts going back in time, just like real fast, hitting these little points in the specific movies that we touched on, and we see that he goes back in time to Warlord with Gimp Bruce, wasn't it, that he had on the chain?
Right. Which I think is, I mean, to me, it's kind of akin to, I think, Christ on Infinite Earth, I think, started with Anthro, I believe, which was who was supposedly the first boy. In the DC universe. So, but yeah, those were kind of cool. You know, Spectre, who was introduced in the Constantine movie. So, you know, he was again all of those movies. It was kind of cool seeing how all of those movies paid off, and so far, you know, have been paid off in what we've seen so far. So.
Yeah, and I was kind of on the fence, like, because I'd heard Flo say that something called Back to the Constantine movie that was kind of the epilogue to the Apocalypse War.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't tell if this is like supposed to be that same Spectre. But I mean, it has to be, really. He's like outside of all this stuff.
Right.
But I don't know.
And that's Constantine, who's Pariah, right? That's the.
Yeah, that was another thing. We don't have Pariah in this at all. Like, there's no Pariah. We have John Constantine.
Well, I kind of thought that character, the John Constantine character, was the Pariah character. Yeah, he's the one. He's the one who's. Oh, sorry. You just say that. I was saying he's the one who's seeing all the world die.
Yeah, and so that I guess that does lend more credence to the idea that Constantine and that Spectre are definitely the pre-Tomorrowverse ones that are somehow disjointed and present. Because otherwise, why would John Constantine be watching all of this? Like, what kind of pariah is he? Another big change is Harbinger. What an odd move they did with Harbinger. So they had to bring in the Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes film that they did, and they brought, was it Dawn they brought in?
Dawnstar.
Dawnstar came in there. Brainiac made a brief appearance before the future was destroyed by the antimatter wave. But they revealed that Harbinger is Supergirl. First off, she looks like Wave Rider. She doesn't look like Harbinger. She's got the fiery hair, the solid skin tone with just like the purple and dark purple instead of gold and black. She looks just like Wave Rider. But she powers down and it's Kara. So I don't remember anything that we've seen that should have implied that Kara was Harbinger, unless I'm just forgetting something from a previous film.
No, because they left her. I mean, at the end of the Legion of Superheroes movie was the setup for Warworld, where they, you know, the bolt came down. Remember, we had thought originally that it might be Dr. Manhattan who was doing it, but
it left the hydrogen symbol. It left the high. I'm still dying on that hill, and I will point out that they announced this Crisis movie and the Watchmen movie at the same time.
Yeah. But that's the weird thing too, because like she just brought people there, so that having that scene is kind of redundant, kind of really. But I agree. It looked nothing like Harbinger. One thing that was kind of similar to the comics that they brought the character back in, and he's going to probably play a big part in part 2 is Psycho Pirate.
Yeah, that was interesting. Him being in the room. That was another cool thing that when they were in there were some people that were in civilian clothes when they were brought to the monitor, and they were walking into a machine that was putting a costume on them. Because we had Dr. Light pop up, which is which is super cool character. Then we have this other person walk in and comes out and it's Psycho Pirate. I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. But so who knows what he's going to do? He's obviously going to try to mess some stuff up It's kind of his nature.
He'll be the only one that remembers.
Unfortunately for him.
Mhm.
And eventually he'll have Black Adam put his fingers on his faceplate and push it through the back of his head. I don't know if y'all remember that. That was his ultimate demise before the New 52 reset. It was during Infinite Crisis when Black Adam's like, dude, I ain't got time for this guy, and just puts his hand on his solid faceplate and just pushes it straight through his head out the back. Like, eesh, that was kind of cool. But it was a solid movie. I got to be honest with you guys. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Seeing the differences, especially like for the first time, made it very enjoyable because I'm watching to see what's going to be different. And it's really different from the start. So it really turns into where are the comic Easter eggs kind of things. And it worked out. It worked out fun. It worked out fine. Whoa, 49ers just tied game.
What?
Who are they playing?
They play the Detroit Lions.
Well, I hope both teams win. House of L says Harbinger was her own character, so they take that character out. It pissed me off. Just me. No, it's not just you. It makes perfect sense. It makes me think back to the vastly superior DC animated universe that came before this, and specifically to Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, which was based off of Michael Turner, his tenure on the title, which, like, when you're talking adapting comics, that they did it flawlessly,
Right.
like as close as you could. And in that, you had Harbinger, like visiting with Supergirl and all that. So yeah, they could have just done Harbinger, but if you, again, that special feature that Paul was talking about was the only one that I watched so far. I'll check out the other ones later, but they do talk about how they were specifically crafting movies to get to this, which I thought that this was initially a rushed attempt at just killing off an animated universe that wasn't as highly accepted as the one before, but apparently it wasn't. This was just an intentional 10 movie run to do Crisis. Like when they were crafting what comes next, we should do Crisis. Well, how do we do that? Well, we got to build to it. Let's build to a Crisis movie. That's was specifically the goal here. So I guess that's why this, despite the differences, was still executed very well. Yeah, the Supergirl when she was taken over by Darkseid. Yeah, that's when Darkseid messed up big time. Kinda. Because Superman and Supergirl went ham on him, and he still was just dragging him. Like, he didn't care. It took Batman to chump him off.
Yeah, those were the good. Those are the good. I'm with you. Those are the good movies when they tried to do the animation in the style of the actual story. Those were the good
All Star
movies.
looked like Frank Quietly artwork brought
Right.
to life. Public Enemies looked like McGinnis artwork brought to life.
Mhm.
Apocalypse looked like Michael Turner artwork brought to life. They did Superman Brainiac, which was another really good one that with Supergirl in there. They definitely did not. They did not try to bring Gary Frank's art to life in that one, but Gary Frank crushed that miniseries. Well, yeah, good stuff there. Good stuff there. Switching gears here. Today, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom crossed another milestone. Hate to break it to the people who kept saying this movie is going to just completely flop. It's now crossed 400 million worldwide at the theaters, and that's a week into digital home release. It's still gaining at the box office. So that's crazy. It was at 409 million this morning when I looked at it. And not just that, but I purchased it on digital yesterday and watched it with the kids. And after a second viewing, I got to say, I still loved it. It was fantastic. It's such a fun movie, man. But another big box office thing is Godzilla -1. We pointed out last week where it crossed 100 million at the box office. Expect more box office milestones after this weekend. They released it in the black and white cut. It's Godzilla -1 minus color special edition in theaters. I don't know how long it'll be there. I think it was
I think
just
it's only
for
like a
weekend.
week. I think. Yeah, it's like February 1st, just to like February 1st. I think.
Yeah, 49 what? Slate. Yeah, so it's not going to be in there long. It'll be February 1st, like you said, but I know February 1st. I have other plans at the theater. I believe Sir Timothy Nerdy's been talking about it. I'm excited as well. But Argyle releases this coming weekend, the next Matthew Bond film. I think that's going to be I think it'll be a hoot.
A hard hoot.
Brother John says Aquaman 2 was nothing but fun. I don't get people that don't like a good time. Yeah, and that's one of those things, like it was, I've said it before, the best way when people ask me if it was any good, if you like the first one, they took what was fun about it and did a lot more of it in a shorter run time. There was some campy stuff to it, but man, it was badass. It really was. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, Trev is looking forward to Argyle. Oh yeah, it's crushed everything that DC's put out here recently. Aquaman 2 is a past Flash, past Black Adam. You got to go back to the Snyder stuff. Beat Wonder Woman. I think it killed Suicide Squad, which was a lockdown release. That released directly to HBO Max and in some theaters that were open at the time.
Speaking of
Seems
Suicide
like
Squad, there's a huge put. I'm seeing the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League everywhere.
I've been seeing it everywhere for a long time. How many years ago was it now, Paul, that we live streamed the DC Fandom thing?
Yeah.
That's years ago. And that game, is it out yet?
No, it's like February 12th or maybe it's the 2nd or something. It's the beginning of next month.
Still not out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be 2019 or 20 at the latest where we streamed the DC Fandom thing and they announced and showed the game footage for that, which for me, it doesn't look like the game footage has changed at all from what we saw years ago, but I'm not necessarily the guy to critique all that. Seems like Kingsman meets first Casino Royale spoof. Yeah, it looks awesome. February 2nd, so that's Saturday. That's a Saturday, right?
It's Friday. Yeah.
I know a lot of people are excited about it. I spoke to one person, I think, God, it's got to be like 3 weeks ago now that beta tested it or something. He was messaging me about it. What was he saying? He sent me a thing where he's a picture where he's getting ready to beta test it, saying, please don't suck. Please don't suck. I got bad news for anyone who didn't like the Avengers game. And he started laughing. He says the gameplay is really similar and the whole thing drips with James Gunn writing. So I got a feeling it's going to be criticized by the Snyder side of the DC universe. I had fun with the little I played, but it's also clearly set up for some hardcore live service gaming. And boy, am I tired of having to buy the game and then 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 pay to play the game I bought 3 times. So that's what he sent me about it. I will say this King Shark is Drax. They didn't even try to hide it. It is literally Drax as a shark. Same delivery, same I'm going to take things literally and over-explain obvious things. But don't get me wrong, I like the first 2 Guardians and haven't seen a DC flick since Man of Steel. I'm way behind on all the cape stuff. And I meant it is funny in the game, but immediately it was really obvious where the tone was coming from. The best line so far was from Boomerang looking at Deadshot and going, I thought Deadshot was white. So they're playing into a lot of stuff with it apparently. But that was on November 30th when he played it.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see. I won't see, but y'all will see if y'all choose to see. Even my wife, though, she even ran in the room like a couple weeks ago and like, hey, look at this, and showed me a commercial for the game. Like, yeah, it's been coming out for a while, but even her ads and stuff, it's feeding it to her, who doesn't keep up with comic stuff. So yeah, they're really pushing this game.
Speaking of games too, they previewed I didn't get a chance to see it, but I'll watch it probably after we get off here. But they previewed a new trailer for Halo Season 2.
Take that off the notes.
Was that on the notes?
That was on the notes. Yeah,
okay.
They released it earlier today, right?
Yeah, they showed it at halftime of the first football game. Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I didn't see it. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I'm going to watch it after we get off here. But it's Season 2 comes very soon to Paramount Plus, I think.
First off, TM, do you video game? I don't ever hear you talk about video games.
I used to. I don't have a system right now, but like I do video games. I don't play any of those like any of the big name games that you guys play. I do like the Final Fantasy VII game. And then other than that, I like the Kingdom of Hearts games and just games like that.
Paul, do you have a system?
I do not. Nope.
Yeah.
I would never get off my couch if I actually had a video game system as well.
I kind of feel like that too, but not necessarily for me. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm like semi afraid to put a new like kind of video game thing into like my kids' activities. They are so hands on with playing and wanting to be outside and playing with physical toys in their hands and stuff. Like we got Finn a DS that's like 15 years old, you know, and we have the Nintendo 64 that we play every now and then. But even then, they'll want to play them every now and then. They don't ask to play them often, you know. And the Nintendo 64 is even hooked up in Monkey's room, and they still don't ask that often. But and they play like I think PlayStation 2 or something like that at Pop's house. They got like the Godzilla fighting games and stuff. But I don't want to overexpose them to like that kind of, what is it like with like the whole social media thing? Like everything moves so fast and it's nonstop that it just completely changes like the way that you sense and react to stuff. And reality is just like kind of boring. You know, I don't want to hit them too early with that kind of stuff.
I know at the end of February, I'm gonna watch somebody play Final Fantasy Rebirth just to live through them, so I can watch the story, because like I love the story of Final Fantasy 7. So, and they're doing something a little bit different with this, with it being like the rebirth and that, so they're changing the story up a little bit. So I'm excited.
And I get that. When The Last of Us came out, I actually went and watched the gameplay through. Like I would pretty much fast forward through them walking around until they'd get to talk to somebody or a cutscene, just because I wanted to kind of compare the show to the game, because I was hearing like I enjoyed the show so much. I kind of wanted more context to where they're coming from with a lot of the stuff. But so I definitely get that. And I typically always watch the Mortal Kombat compilations they'll do for new games, where they just take all the movie cutscenes and put them together. And it'll be like 3 hours long because I just want the story from it. But that's super, super fair. And it's awesome to be able to do that with YouTube and stuff now too. Super easy. Next one. Y'all want to hear something crazy? I saw this announced. I'm like, that can't be real. That's real. It was announced that Kevin Spacey is going to be making his first Comic-Con appearance for signing and stuff this past week. Did y'all see that?
No.
Yes, I'm not joking.
What Comic-Con? Just so everybody can know to avoid it.
Oh, I was going to go get my Superman Return signed. North Carolina convention next month. This is article posted by the Hollywood Reporter on January 24th, 2024. Kevin Spacey, the two-time Oscar winner who has largely avoided the public eye since his career imploded. Fast forwarding, the actor has booked his first comic book convention appearance, set for February 16th through 18th at Mad Monster, the con held in Concord, North Carolina. He'll be among the guests signing autographs and posing for photos. He is also in business with the company Everest Autograph, which is arranging for photograph purchases for those not attending. So, ironically, the convention is called Mad Monster. Like, how crazy is that?
So,
Kevin Spacey is back. So you can expect a new season of House of Cards and get the finale y'all all wanted?
So what are the odds that there are protesters there that, carry signs that say awful things about him? And this is, unless they're going to keep him off, off to in his own room somewhere or something, and you have to, that's how you have to get to him.
To be fair, I don't think anybody's ever heard of this con before until now. So I think they're doing the right thing of bringing him. Like, they're going to be on the map now.
Well, all right. Well, I'm reading farther down because I was just kind of wondering what it would state. I don't want to get into the whole legal thing. It gets into some weird stuff, but it looks like he was acquitted on stuff. Like, was he formally charged?
In Great Britain, I think he was acquitted, I believe.
UK, he was acquitted is what it says, yeah.
Yeah, because it goes back to when he was part of the the Shakespearean theater or something like that, I think. So DVH may know more, having living there. He may know about what has gone on with him. So
the UK DVH, that's who.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, like I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. I've never looked into or followed or anything about the stuff that happened with him. But Yeah, I saw that and I was like, dude, this guy's it's been so like radio silent since the whole like he got like fired from Hollywood basically era. I didn't really ever think about him too often, just but that caught my attention and blew my mind. Misconduct, Scott, of misconduct.
Exactly.
That was the wild one. Yeah, I don't know if you want to get into it, but I did put on here the Key Collector Crashdown drama. But there's a brand new comic out this week by writer Tom Garcia, better known as Comic Tom, and I want to properly
Fire guy Ryan.
Yeah, but I want to properly shout him out. I mean, what is his name? It's Ryan something. I'm so sorry if anyone's a huge buddy of his or something. I don't follow them that close. Here we go. Ryan Sargent. So Tom Garcia and Ryan Sargent on social medias. It's Comic Tom and Fire Guy Ryan. They put out issue 1 of their own book. It was published through Massive, which is the Whatnot publishing wing. It's a new science fiction book. It's apparently a mini series, but it got a lot of scrutiny this week because Key Collector app, is the guy who owns that, is a known friend and associate of Tom Garcia, Comic Tom, and they listed it as their comic key of the week, which for those of you that might not know what Key Collector is, it is an app that you can pay money for their comic speculation advice. It's literally meant for comic speculating. There are other things you can use it for, like identifying books and all kinds of stuff like that. But there's literally an aspect of it that you pay for advice. And for this past week, if you give them their money, their advice to you is buy my friend's book. So there was a lot of people upset about that. I don't keep up with Comic Tom. I don't keep up with Fire Guy Ryan. I did run into Fire Guy Ryan on a live stream last night. I was on late night and got the chance to talk to him. He was a great guy. I was on panel with Carlito Classic, who barely ever does live streams, and Fire Guy Ryan is one of his buddies, and he was in the chat, and they asked me about the book, and I was completely honest with him, and he appreciated the feedback and happy I picked up the book, and we went on to fan out about Ghost Machine and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So he seems like a legitimately good dude. Like I was not mean to him. I said the same thing to him, and he was happy to hear the feedback, not condescending or anything like that. But the big controversy was the fact that the whole buddy system with Key Collector, when it's a paid app that you're paying for, like the honesty of this person and the integrity of it was non-existent. But that being said, Crashdown was a decent read. Ben Templesmith is doing the art on it. So if you're a fan of Ben Templesmith, you should definitely like it. It was a decent little sci-fi read. I told Ryan last night, it definitely felt like someone's first comic, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was kind of there. It kind of left you with a good little cliffhanger. You can also heavily see their inspirations, whether they were intentional or subconscious. But like the opening scene to Aliens and the opening scene to the first Avatar is in this book when everyone's waking up in the spaceship out of the cryopods, and there's the one pod that might not go very well all the time and stuff like that. The Planet of the Apes, was it Planet of the Apes Part 2 when they wake up and the one of them was aged in the cryopod and just bag of bones, stuff like that. But it was decent. Earth sucks. They got to leave Earth because it's dying, and this new planet they're going to is not as peaceful as they were hoping as they're crashing down on it for the first time. Cool premise, decent read. I would not tell anyone to avoid it because you don't like Comic Tom. Give it a fair shake. See if you can be non-biased about it. But I picked up a copy because these books that gain traction, they go in the Legion loot. So someone will be winning that the first week of March.
Maybe it'll show up on Guess That Key.
If you buy Crashdown because Key Collector said so, that is on you. That's very true, Dr. Von Hoot. Also, if you buy this book because Key Collector told you to, that is on you. I bought this book because I knew that the internet was abuzz about this cover.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, this book is selling for $25. Not on sale for, is selling for. Previous sales, $25 and stuff. So I picked up a copy of this because I knew covers like this, they get that much negative hate, get traction going in the Legion loot. So there's some funsy ones in there this month. Constructive criticism versus nepotism. Yeah, it's a fine line. Fine line. Another thing that I saw in the news this week that I'm actually kind of nervous about is it was confirmed that the Tanahashi Coates Superman Elseworld project is still in the works. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Tanahashi Coates has been working on a Superman project with J.J. Abrams for the better part of 2 years now. It's supposed to be featuring Val Zod's Superman, which is the Superman first introduced in the New 52's Earth 2 stuff. He's currently in Comicx today. You can find him in the most recently Beast World Waller Rising and Justice League Incarnate before that.
He did he did a big run on Black Panther, I think, didn't he?
Tanahashi Coates did, yes. Big time actor. Crashdown was fine, not a key book by any means. 100% true. 100% true. But I'm kind of concerned in the aspect that, for one, I want a Val Zod Superman movie because, like those Earth 2 characters, they favorite part of the New 52. I don't want a convoluted start to the DCU. And after hearing what TM shared about like the concern with how everything's kind of crazy at the DCU right now, trying to get it all organized, and they're already still talking that Elseworld projects are still a go. I think that doesn't bode well for the universe. Where y'all stand on the idea of getting Elseworld projects this early on in the inception of a brand new DCU?
Kind of already have them though. We already have like the Batman that's going on, and then with the Penguin series, even though technically they said that the Penguin series is going to be connected with the DC James Gunn's DCU. Like it's going to have a home there. Yeah, at one point I remember hearing that. But I think that was just like a safety net, just in case like the Batman ends.
Or the Blue Beetle safety net they put out there.
Yeah. So
seriously, like if it does good, we'll be happy to fold him in. There's nothing in that movie that specifically ties it to the old DC movies or the new ones. So if it's well received, we can bring him over, kind of thing.
Yeah, because you have the Batman still, and then you have the Joker that's coming out this year as well. And who knows if the Joker succeeds like the second one, they're probably going to come out with a third one.
I bet Joker 2 does 500 worldwide. Well, I don't know. International markets are so unpredictable with stuff.
Well, what's the budget on it though? Because if the budget's low, I don't see it being very much. If it succeeds the budget, then we're good.
Plus, I mean, they're taking a artistic chance too, because it's not. I don't know if it's entirely a musical, but there is a lot of musicality in it.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering too, because everyone's like kind of trashing the idea of a holy schmeckles. There's no reason for that budget to be that. 150 million budget on the Joker 2. I mean, 50 of that better be for Lady Gaga alone. Like, it makes no sense for that movie to have 150 budget. But yeah, I was wondering the same thing, if how much of it is actually like a musical, like The Greatest Showman, versus like these people are crazy. How many times are we going to be in like their psyche, looking at the world through their eyes, like how we had Arthur Fleck doing the stand-up comedy, or even in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Harley having like the scene when she's slaughtering a building full of people, but you're seeing it through her crazy lens of seeing like the butterflies and the flowers and stuff. Yeah, the first Joker movie had a budget of 55 to 70 million. They've tripled the budget for the next one. Makes no sense. It's not a special effects thing. There's no sense at all. That's still a lower budget compared to normal. It depends on how much they blow on marketing, but with 150, you can do the basic math and assume 300 all in. So that's.
Which means you have to do 600 to break even.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. That's no good. They went the wrong way with that. Let's not forget Terrifier 3 this year at the clown doing a Killer Santa. That's pretty cool. Those are wild movies. Maybe they need the insurance write-off. I don't know. Let's see. What else did I have on here? That was all I had for stuff that I noticed through the week. Do y'all have anything?
I don't think I had anything else. The Marvel solicits came out. There was nothing all that earth-shattering, I don't think, this past week. The week before was. Go ahead.
I was going to say my Marvel pools are about to get even smaller. I'm dropping the Punisher run that's out right now. I'm going to pick up the new Ghost Rider when it comes out because I love me some Ghost Rider, but we'll see if it stays. You know, Cosmic Ghost Rider wasn't good enough to stay. I kind of like I like traditional Ghost Rider or Danny Ketch. You know, I don't need Cosmic Ghost Rider. I don't know if I want this new Ghost Rider. I'll try it out, but Punisher, I'm the same way. I love me some Punisher. Joe Garrison stuff is fine, but my pool is exploding over the next couple of months, and there's going to be some cuts.
Yep.
That leaves one more thing. Ghost Machine officially kicked off this week, and that kind of bridges the news with actually talking about the comics that dropped this week. Ghost Machine is here officially, a brand new imprint under Image Comics, spearheaded by Jeff Johns, with a laundry list of powerhouse creators, bringing us not one connected universe, but multiple different universes under this one imprint. Comic readers were introduced to the unnamed universe already through the miniseries Geiger and Junkyard Joe, and we were teased with the 80-page giant, another character called Redcoat, that all exist inside of one connected universe. And from the time of that releasing to this week, Jeff Johns has scouted and recruited countless legends and big names in the comic creator circle and is bringing them all in under his imprint called Ghost Machine, where we'll see the Unnamed universe, the Rook Exodus universe, the Family Odyssey universe, and a horror universe, so that different stuff can exist on its own or inside of a connected manner. This week they released issue one shot that Paul just showed you, which is a sampler of what they have ready to go so far. We see Geiger again. Junkyard Joe doesn't really make an appearance, but Redcoat has a short story. We're introduced to the Rockefellers, which is a Francis Manifold story about a futuristic family hiding in the past. We don't know what from yet, but it was actually really enjoyable. We were also introduced to Tomasi's new series called Hornsby and Halo, which is like, I guess, the Super Sons under Ghost Machine, whether it's an angel and a demon slant. And
the
then
Super Sons with God and Satan.
Yeah. So I know that some people were really excited about that. Flo Dameron was big excited about it. One that really caught my attention that I'll be honest with you, I was on the fence about. They announced that Ivan Reis is coming over to Ghost Machine. I'm like, yes. They're like, he's doing this book called Hyde Street. I'm like, oh, this looks like a horror comic. Then I read the Hyde Street introduction, which was featured this week. And that felt like straight up an episode of Twilight Zone. So cool. That was super cool. What is that? I wonder how many people got that Versus Bus cover homage. The Versus Bus? This one? I don't know what the Versus Bus is, but yeah, a lot of people love that Super Sons run. So if you're a fan of that, I would VW, not Versus. Yeah. If you're a fan of Super Sons, I would definitely suggest checking this out. I have a feeling it's going to be steering around those same lines, those same vibes and stuff. But I know a big one that a lot of people were excited about after the announce of Ghost Machine was the Rook Exodus universe, which is Jason Fabok's universe. Like, critically acclaimed artist is creating his own universe called Rook Exodus, and we were shown that universe in this, and it was a cool concept. We're on a different planet where they're trying to pretty much bring civilization and humanity over there, and part of terraforming that world is having animals over there, and they have these masks that are able to control different animals. And you have like a farmer with like a mask that can control birds, and you have this character called Dire Wolf with one that can control wolves and stuff, and a guy with a big warthog mask and all this. But apparently on this world, some warlords have gotten a hold of masks and are using them for power trip reasons. So now you have people like Rook, who's a farmer, having to pick up arms and fight for his place on this world. Got just the smallest introduction to it. The artwork was astounding. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm just rambling at this point. Well, y'all did you read Ghost Machine, TM?
So this just in Comicx asked about Peter Tomasi. He is writing. This is the cover for it, Hornsby and Halo. Basically, that it's a story. It's basically she is basically the devil. He is basically or good and evil, whatever you want to call it. And they grow up together, and they're gonna have kind of like a Super Sons type thing. But yeah, Peter Tomasi is doing that as part of Ghost Machine. No issues yet. Just the story and the Ghost Machine one shot. So
yeah. So officially, it's kicked off today with this sampler. If you didn't read anything that came before, this is a good introduction and jump on point. There hasn't been a lot to catch up on if you didn't read the stuff that came before. But in April,
they have the Who's Who, the Who's Who pages as well.
That was a huge bonus. That was. Dude, having those like kind of character profile pages is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
After every little short story, you get the recap and synopsis of each character kind of thing. And we're introduced to a brand new character who we first saw at the epilogue of Ground Zero, the Northerner. Yeah, there we go. The official handbook of the Ghost Machine universe. Yeah, pretty much like 2 in 1 there. Out of the ones that you touched on, which ones really got your attention, Paul? Out of what they sampled us with?
Well, I really like Geiger. I've liked it since the start, but the Rook universe does seem pretty cool with the mask being able to control whatever type of animal it is that's on the mask and everything. So, and of course you mentioned Jason Fabach's art. You just can't beat that. He's just incredible. So.
Yeah,
those are the two that I'm looking forward to the most.
So for me, I don't know what it is. It's been Redcoat since that 80-page giant. Mm-hmm. And then getting the official announcement at NYCC of the expansion from Mad Ghost to Ghost Machine, and getting that conversation snippet between Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch about the inception of the character got me more excited. And knowing that it's coming soon has me excited. But
now that you say that, I'm looking most forward. Now that you say that, let me put those two to the back and say the thing I'm most excited is to see exactly what the Unknown War is.
Yeah, that's been lingering for a good 2 years now. We've been watching it kind of come to be. What shocked me the most, though, out of the new stuff was Hyde Street. Don't know why. Just the story was simplistic. It was short, but you kind of have like this dickheaded businessman walking through the streets complaining on the phone, and this little kid who looks like a Boy Scout. And that's what kind of put me off from the start, is seeing the cover of this front and center little Boy Scout kid. I'm like, I don't want to follow a little Boy Scout around in a story. Well, apparently he's not. He's not a little Boy Scout, because this guy's walking on the phone complaining about needing to find someone, and this kid just addresses him out of left field, like tries to interrupt him on the phone and says some kind of creepy line of dialogue like, I could find him for you, mister. I'm a third-degree demon hunter kind of thing. It was something trippy. Caught me completely off guard. I'm a third-year trailblazer and whatever. And then he like whistles into this little whistle. Like he's just a creepy little kid. Creepy little kid. So I'm kind of curious to see where they go with this. It's like this whole little darkness is coming over the city, and like this whole like demonic presence is coming. But the guy ultimately gets absolutely smashed, like destroyed by a semi truck that crashes into him into a pole out of left field. And we kind of get a tease of the Mr. X-ray glasses guy. It was weird. Redcoat seems to be kind of a lucky trickster character. Down for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, he had it right the first time. I don't know why, but his name is definitely separated. It's Redcoat. So is there any big books coming out at MegaCon this year? I haven't seen anything this year. that really caught my eye. John Jang has 2 exclusives through Eastside Comics. He has 1 exclusive through Captured Collectibles, and he has 1 exclusive through Big Time Collectibles. And those are the MegaCon books that you get from me. That's the only ones I keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, there's BCC, Big Time Collectibles has, I think, 10 different. There's a Thundercats one. There's a Glow in the Dark Nightwing one. There's the 2 John Jang, with the trade dress and the Virgin.
Mhm.
It's
Spider-Gwen Smash is the actual
Yeah.
book, I believe.
Yeah. The Comic Mint had a couple exclusives as well, but and then the Fan Expo itself, they do some things that you can buy at their shops as well. So there's a couple of foils that I think that they have as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten any kind of like a crazy chase heat like Comic-Con or New York does. I think a lot of that is like tamed down a lot over the last year as well. Yeah, Clarion's a little wicked little B word.
Yep.
Y'all want to get into some books?
Sure.
Tim, what'd you read this week?
Green Arrow.
Tell us about it. What happened with Green Arrow?
Well, we start off the book with Green Arrow's son saying who should he get in contact with? Who should he talk to? Because we see all this. We see Oliver laying on a table, dead. He was shot dead by onomatopoeia. So we're trying to figure out how he died, or who onomatopoeia is working for. So we're trying to figure that out. We go on this little journey to figure out who it is, and it turns out to be Brick. I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of find out that Brick is working for Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller wants certain people dead, and she put a tag out saying any Justice League, any superhero is open season, and you get 1 free ticket at a Belle Reve, and the chip that's in your head will never explode. It'll be turned off. So you'll never have to worry about it ever. So what ends up happening though is they plan it for whatever. It was like a mislead. So we thought Oliver was dead. Of course he's not. It's an ongoing series. And we come to find out that onomatopoeia was knocked out in the first 2 seconds of him trying to shoot and kill Oliver. And Oliver took over the mantle of being onomatopoeia to infiltrate what's going on and who sent onomatopoeia to kill him.
It was a cool little throw off issue. It felt like a filler issue more than anything, but then they
the last panel.
They hit us with the twist. And I'm like, it counted. This issue counted. It was a fun issue. I enjoyed it as well because I was just waiting for the turn the whole time with the Green Arrow getting killed, and I thought it was cool how they did it with Connor too. Bang, with the fight with Connor. But seeing what ultimately happened with Roy, I think they pulled the trigger too fast, revealing that Roy is alive. We see him on that last page working for Waller in just one single shot. And it looks like he has a scar on his head as well, where Amanda Waller fed him a bullet. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly.
Or no, maybe it could be that he now has a bomb in his head.
It'd be easy to put one in there when you put a bullet hole there too. Just drop it in there and throw it up.
Drop it in.
Yeah. That was pretty solid. One book that I read, I'm not sure if y'all read it. Either of y'all pick up the Rebel Moon movie prequel?
I did not.
So I'll fill you in real quick. You know how Rebel Moon has been heavily inspired by other sci-fi stuff. This felt like the Dune House of Atreides thing happening. But we go back in time to before the fall of the great king, before his family was assassinated. And we're checking in with the Blood Axe clan. We see these 2 characters in the film. We're following their parents who are ruling their world, their little, the planet they're from. They kind of have a weak father. Their mother was a warrior, and she passes away early in the issue, just natural causes, old age. So now his kingdom is being looked at by the surrounding kingdoms, like other little tribal leaders want the big throne. About that time, when tensions are getting heavy, the home world comes to visit him to explain to him the massacre that happened with the king, his wife, and his daughter. And then you see them slowly work their way into power, showing that his throne was never a real throne. It's just the home world ruling everything and kind of moving in to take everything from him, kind of deal. So it's pure tension, a lot of political stuff in there. There's some cool action shots of seeing how the parents met on a hunt and everything. But it's got me excited to kind of expand the Rebel Moon universe. I definitely enjoyed it, and I ended up picking up the foil variant as well. So I'm gonna keep that one because I like things that shine. But issue 1, the first appearance of Rebel Moon in comics, will be going in the Legion Loot. Wow. So if you know anything about licensed comics, I know a thing or two about them. I enjoy them. They tend to gain some value over time. I've got a first appearance of Avatar in a 9.8, which I love to talk about any chance I get. And that thing actually is worth a couple $100. First appearance of Aliens, Predators, RoboCop, Avatar, Rebel Moon. Who knows? That's going to a new home for one of the Legionnaires. That's something that was announced this week. They released a trailer for Roadhouse. Yeah, it looks fun. It looks corny. It looks lame. It looks goofy. It looks cheesy. It looks like all of the things a Roadhouse remake should. But yeah, it looks pretty fun. We add syllables to every word in Georgia. I don't disagree with that. I think it's important. Paul, what's something you read this week?
Something I read this week, but because I picked it up, but I didn't get it last week, was...
Hey, what'd you think?
I liked it.
Yeah, surprising, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't pick it up too. It's Avengers Twilight, which is I think you correctly described it as, it's basically the Kingdom Come story of the Avengers. It is basically the world is basically turned against the Avengers because there was a huge explosion in New York City that has been blamed on Tony Stark. Tony Stark's son is the bad guy in the issue. He's kind of like he's like just like an asshole pretty much. But this is very much a Steve Rogers story, and how they try to convince him to come back, and they don't. But then he finds out that there is still some of the super serum is still around, and so they inject him with the super serum, and that's how it ends, with basically him back to his bulked up self, ready for issue number 2. So, and it's got Alex Ross covers too, so love that. So
one of the coolest aspects of them wanting Steve Rogers to take the serum again, which this underground rebellious group has been working on synthesizing, is that it hasn't worked on anyone else. They don't just want Steve Rogers. It requires Steve Rogers. The serum just isn't something you can replicate and give to anybody. It needs that person for it to work. I'm like, yes. It was so
really
cool, man. Yeah, the artwork was pretty solid. It fit the story well. It was just fun, man. It felt really good. Chip Zdarsky's writing that one. I have no clue how many issues it's going to be, but I looked ahead at some of the covers, and it looks like Alex Ross is doing a different character on each cover. So issue
2 comes out this week, right?
Yeah, with Iron Man on it, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. It was super fun. Tim, what else you check out this week?
Beast World issue number 5.
What'd you think? Hey, what'd you think?
It was pretty good. It was pretty freaking awesome. Yeah. What'd you think?
I thought it was awesome too. If you follow the DC Comics deep dives that me and Paul do on Mondays, it uploads at 10 a.m. We tend to break down and go into more detail and stuff on the current DC events that are going on, or current crossover stories that happen between events and stuff. But if a couple episodes back, we were talking about it, and we predicted. I made my next Dr. Hate prediction after like the Animal Man one kind of went to crap. That was like my first one. But my second, I made the other one and I called it. It is, in fact, none other than Raven under the mask. I'm like, yes. What'd you think of it, Paul?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And and it makes. I mean, we talk about. I mean, we're kind of spoiling a bit what we do in DCD dive too, but we um we talk about how Tom Taylor has actually been planting some of these clues in some of the issues that he done. Because there's an issue of Nightwing where one character says to Raven that there's part of her is missing, and we find out that it's the part that was trapped in the gem that was on her forehead. It's basically the demon side of her that she had trapped in her gem that was on her forehead, and that's the part that has escaped and then became part of Doctor Hate. So the gem she had in her head was empty, and she finds that out in issue 5 of Beast World.
So basically, after they get this whole Beast World thing resolved, they can take that gem and put it in Roy's crater.
There you go.
There you go. But it was pretty solid. This issue did so much to elevate Amanda Waller, which she is just such a genuinely terrible, terrible person. And that's what you want in a villain. Like, there's so many villains out there that are fun to read, that are enjoyable, that people are like, yeah, I like that villain. He's cool. Like, no one says I want to be like Amanda Waller. That's how a villain is supposed to be. You never like it. She is legitimately like, she is the anti-Batman. I've said it before. She's always planning. She's always ahead of everyone else. Like, she's like, I'm going to do this. The Titans are like, all right, we don't want her to do that, but let's try to stop her. If we can't talk her out of it, we'll stop her. Fast forward, Amanda Waller's like, I knew you'd try to come talk to me, so I have that plan. I knew you'd try to stop it, so welcome to the actual plan that y'all just played into, and now I have just won. Again, I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah, and she's the type of villain too. I mean, the villains that are the best are the ones that they don't have to say anything. Just them showing up in a panel, and you're like, oh, damn it, Amanda Waller's here again.
Yeah, she made one of the ballsiest moves that she's made in recent times. She does this whole press conference thing and makes this announcement. She ran past nobody just to kill millions of people, and like no one has the balls to tell her no. They're like, wait, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to kill 1 million people. Can you please move over? Like,
and she's savage too. Like that line where she's just like, oh, if I knew you're gonna do that, I would have killed Garfield a long time ago. I was like, whoa. She's
yeah, when you know, like, that was part of the plan. Like, it's like she knew Raven was in there. She like, yeah, because there was Garfield was killed last week or so. Beast Boy is dead, killed by Amanda Waller. And in this issue, she makes a comment looking straight at Nightwing, clearly knowing that Raven's in there somewhere. And she said, if I would have known the Titans would act this recklessly, I would have killed Beast Boy a long time ago. And draws Raven right out into Dr. Fate's hands. I'm like,
well, you have the other side of like you have like the other Raven. She's like, I know me. I will be listening in and stuff. So go full tilt. I'll be here.
Yeah, it was such a solid issue. There's so much meticulous planning and so much to have that much planning and detail and such a simplistic execution is such a well-balanced story. It's just fun to read. This event has no business being as good as it is, but it is. Because remember, if someone asks you what Beast World's about, you have to say Beast Boy turns into a giant starfish and he shoots a lot of spores out that turns people into animals. That's what you have to tell people. But then you read it, you're like, holy crap.
I'm surprised that most of them survived. Like, I thought after he died, like the spores would die too, but I guess not.
Yeah, that's one thing that we established this week between Beast World and the Star City World Tour that came out. The only thing that really served is they established that the spores themselves are independent, sentient life forms that you shouldn't be killing, which is, that kind of doesn't mesh up with everything else that came before. So I'm just going to kind of forget that. But that was the driving purpose of the Star City World Tour. But we established that Beast Boy's dead, no more spores. What's down here is all we have to contend with. Amanda Waller's is going to nuke them all, despite the fact that they're people that you can get back. And we established that all the spores themselves are independent, sentient beings that heroes shouldn't be just blindly slaughtering, which that was only decided by Connor Hawk, Oliver's son, which Oliver firmly disagreed with. But that's pretty much the synopsis for Beast World World Tour Star City, which I would say skip it. I picked up the John Jane cover, which is a great variant to see Judy Garrett, aka Boom, as a crocodile, and Alan Scott, Green Lantern, as a frog. One of those will be in the Legion loot as well.
Dr. Von Hood, I would say try it. I enjoyed the Titan show.
I did too.
It's definitely worth watching. I really liked season 2 a whole lot. I remember being off my feet yelling in some scenes, specifically when Jason Todd goes out of a window and Connor is on the ground and happens to see it. I'm like, even Kyle, when we were watching that used to be our show we'd watch together in the evening once a week. And when Jason Todd fell out, we both stood up, catch him. Yeah. And then they cut for the episode. I'm like, we have to wait a week?
Yeah, I think the first season was the weakest of all the seasons, but I think it got better as it went along.
Yeah, it was definitely a budget thing because you got to remember that show started out as a DC Universe streaming original. Yeah, which I was a beta tester for that app, which was awesome. Yep. That's the only thing I've ever beta tested in my life. But I was I downloaded that app so early and was looking up to it. I remember the kickoff event with Kevin Smith and everything, the 2-hour kickoff show to the app launching. Man, that was such a fun thing. I miss having all that on the DC app.
I think you should watch Hazbin Hotel, Dr. Von Hood. That's a show. That's actually getting high praise now. It's one of Apple's or not Apple, Amazon's highest watch show right now is Hazbin Hotel.
Yeah, we all go through phases, Scotty. I haven't finished the final season of Titans yet. I watched the first half. They did the break or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've not seen how it all ends yet.
I did I'm the opposite, Scotty. I did when Connor became bald and evil. I kind of like that. I was a different side of this actor, and you can kind of see Superboy being badass now.
It's going to be kind of tough to go back to it too after seeing they introduced Lex Luthor in that final season of Titans. I know that they killed him in that intro to him. I don't know if he pops back up or not, but after seeing what they did with him in Superman and Lois, that's what I want to see is more of that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my choice, my first choice or my 7th choice to pick who they picked for Lex Luthor on Titans. It just didn't. I don't know. I just couldn't see him as they were he was only that by name. I look at him. It's different than every other iteration. I can look at them and be they played a good Lex. Even Alan from 2.5 Men pulled off a pretty decent Lex Luthor in Star.
Was that John Cryer? Is that his name?
Yeah, John Cryer. I really enjoyed his portrayal of Lex Luthor.
What's crazy is I think the most non-Lex Luthor I've ever seen is the one from Superman and Lois, but there's just something about it. You're Lex Luthor's in there. He's just mean. He's just super duper mean in this. And I've never seen him that just bold with what he's doing. Just legitimately angry. The guy from Band of Bros and early Walking Dead was Lex, right? He is in the Superman and Lois Abraham.
Something Cudlitz, I think is his name. I can't remember his first name, but.
And speaking of Band of Brothers, there's a new series that just premiered on Apple TV. They got really high critic praises. You've had Band of Brothers, you have the Pacific. This is a show about some of the fighter pilots that's supposed to be made by some of the same people that brought those shows. Superboy live action show has a stupid dude.
In the first season, the ones in the later seasons were after the first season. Well, he was much better.
He was like Zach Morris from Wish.com in the first season. I loved watching that show when I was little.
Yeah, me too.
Other ones that dropped this week, Punisher issue number 3, following the brand new Punisher Joe Garrison. This issue served as just like a insert story to see why, after he kind of figures out what happens to his family, he's extending his mission beyond his family. Like, there's other people in the world that go through what I went through. I have to continue to deal out punishment for them. So this is going to be the last issue of Punisher that I pull. It's not bad at all. I have no problem with this Joe Garrison character. You know, stuff like this is temporary. Frank is still there. He'll be back in no time. But I got Ghost Machine stuff to pick up, guys. I can't keep pulling everything. So this is coming off my pull list at this issue. But maybe I'll go back and read some collected volumes of it. Not sure. I also got caught up on reading Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with 115 and 116. This is just off the rails. There's no point in even trying to summarize it. If you read it, you know. If you don't read it, none of it will make sense to you. This story is so vast, crossing so many teams, across so many dimensions. One of the biggest bad guys in Power Ranger history, Dark Spectre, is here. He has a body, and he's just wreaking havoc across the morphing grid. And yeah, if you're a Power Ranger fan, don't miss the Darkest Hour event. At least go back and get the collected volumes. I'll keep singing its praises. But we're well beyond being able to recap it for people who don't know. It's way too in the weeds. Lord Zed has a coin. He's rangered out. He's got Serpentera Zord mixed with the Promethea Dragon Zord, and he's working alongside Zordon briefly. And there's just so much going on. The Master Art was destroyed. Draken went through it for the last time to the land of the coinless to draw out the Ranger Slayer, which is the Kimberly from the Draken's timeline, all just to sacrifice himself to her in order to free her of the slave mindset that he put her under and she was currently under from Dark Spectre, to hopefully redeem himself in the eyes of Kimberly, which was such a deep cut. I'm telling you, this stuff is so good if you're a Ranger fan. It is ridiculous. But man, I was all emotional at the end of that one, because seeing Draken die was insane. That character has been around for a while, but seeing Ranger Slayer freed up and now she's about to go ape shit, probably, which I can't wait to see. I hope she brings out Gravedigger again, which is her Zord that's comprised of broken down Zords from across the morphing grid. So like I said, there's a lot to this. None of that made sense to anybody, I bet. See, TM's like, this is like talking about wrestling. We need a Downton Abbey episode that connects it to the John Wick universe. What is going on, Carlito? Good to see you. I had a blast hanging out with him last night. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. We were talking about Crashdown briefly before. Man, I appreciate it. It was fun. I appreciate you inviting me. I love Downton Abbey. I typically don't like. Everyone's next great watch should be Saltburn, starring Barry Kay. I think, was it one of y'all that mentioned Saltburn the other week? Somebody said that show was pretty good.
It's actually a movie.
Okay.
It's good. Might be. It depends. It definitely is an experience. It has.
I heard it's really, really freaking hard to watch.
Yeah, there are some scenes in it that are the ending scene at the there's a scene in a bathtub that is basically it's set, I want to say, in the 70s, I think. I don't know a lot about the story, but I know that there is Barry Kay plays this guy who I think becomes obsessed with somebody else, with one of the guys, I think. And some of the things that he does is really kind of over the top. Involved in the bathtub. The bathtub scene is the one that everyone seems to have heard about and has been commented on the most. So
looks like it's a black comedy psychological thriller film. So it's like 15 different genres all in one. There we go.
Yes.
Starring the Batman's Joker, or you may know him from his critically acclaimed movie, The Eternals.
Or The Flash, as Headquake says.
Right, Barry Keoghan.
He looks like Ezra a little bit.
What is going on, the Adventurous Joe? Speaking of The Flash, I got to tell you, I read The Flash number 5. Cy Sperrier's run on The Flash continues with issue number 5. 1, 2, and 3 I thought were just a chore to get through. I enjoyed issue 4. I legitimately thought it was pretty good. It did a good job kind of setting a better tone. Maybe I was just getting used to the dynamic shift and everything. Then issue 5 gets here, and I read it right before this show because I kept putting it off, like because it felt like a chore. I love this issue. I felt like making a post apologizing to Cy Sperrier after reading this issue, and I'm not joking. Like it was a Jay issue. His son Jay. You follow Jay sitting at a bench, kind of sulking about just his existence, like he lives in a family of speedsters. He has powers, but they're these weird powers where he has the ability to just destroy stuff. He's like super strong. It's all uncontrollable. He has the ability to teleport to his dad when he's scared, which crushes his self-esteem. Like, what kind of power is that to just be a chicken, basically? Then this entity approaches him and it scares him. And he pops up next to his dad and sees his dad working with Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific, and their science team trying to figure out the different layers to this experience Barry's going through. They establish it's not a multiversal experience, but a multi-plane of existence experience where he's vibrating through frequencies of existence and stuff, which is kind of starting to get more understandable. Cy is going into the deep cuts with the science stuff, but kind of staying with it for a few issues makes it easier to read through. We end up getting to Jay where he's like talking about the way he views his father and how his father always tells him he's proud of him, but he deep down inside, he feels like he could be lying to him, this and that. And he teleports back after seeing his dad doing these experiences. He's able to go back to where he was, and that entity is still there. Now it's sitting beside him. It's kind of cloaked. He has a large hat on. He has a cloak on, but he almost has like a suit, and you can see his hands where it almost looks like Metron's design. And he identifies himself as the Detective Pilgrim. And he knows everything about Jay. He knows everything about Jay's future, but he can't tell him. He can only talk to him and experience the present with him because it's against the rules to talk about the future. And he kind of gives him some encouraging words. And we cut back to Barry. We cut back to Wally. And after getting a couple of cool scenes with Jay and him talking about how you're not just tethered to your dad, you're tethered to all the speedsters. And what's interesting is you only jump to your dad because he has the clearest tether, the clearest vibration, the cleanest connection to the Speed Force. But you can connect with all of them. And we kind of get this cool page splash where Jay's focusing and he's kind of being able to see the other speedsters and stuff, almost like his sister can do. But then he ends up jumping back to his dad after focusing. And about that time, the Still Force, the 3 cosmic entities that are behind all of this, these super powerful creatures we haven't gotten a lot of information on, pop up and destroy the research that they were working on, trying to figure out what's going on, telling Wally that this has to happen. And in the process of doing it, Wally thinks that his son gets killed in the explosion. And Jay's still there. Jay's watching his dad like this perfect father figure, never loses his cool. He's the perfect dad, the perfect hero. He watches his dad do something he's only heard of in rumor, and it's lose his temper. And we've established that Wally has all of these abilities and powers, and he just gets he just lets loose. He just gets mad. In his anger, he's just Speed Forces coming out of him and just explodes the stillness creatures. And Jay comes running up and tells his dad to stop, and he's able to turn it off. He's like, "Yo, I thought I lost you." And you get this really cool dialogue at the end of it where Jay's like, when my dad would tell me he was proud of me, I wasn't sure, but now I know what my dad looks like when he's like letting loose, like having seen that other side of his father, what he can really be, what he keeps hidden inside of him. He knows what hides inside of him now. So he knows when he sees his dad say, he's proud of me, I know he's telling the truth. I'm like, that was such a damn good issue of a comic. Like it is slow paced, a lot of dialogue, but the totality of it just delivered. That ending just set everything else in such a higher place for me. I enjoyed that a lot. Very confusing shit, but I enjoyed that a lot. Have you bailed off of it yet?
No, I read it, but I'm definitely not as high in it as you are. I did think that the last 2 issues were better than the first ones, but I just think that the whole thing is, for me, the whole tone is just, to me, just off for the Flash.
Oh, it's definitely off.
Yeah.
It feels like a dark, morbid book.
Yeah, and that's not what a Flash book should be.
I just seen J-Med's comment. Remind me, I need to scroll back up to one. J-Med popped in here earlier and asked about what was it? Immortal Thor. not going to lie, my feelings are something. I can't tell what the emoji is. I dropped Immortal Thor after issue 3. Couldn't deal with Thoranus. The whole thing was just cattywampus. I'm like, no, who is this Loki character? Is this even the same Loki? What is a Thoranus? Are we just doing the upside down? And just
Maybe we should ask our power bottom.
yeah, yeah. I didn't go see it. I've definitely been putting it out there though. Oh, he said it's a face palm. Yeah, I bailed on Thor after 3. I was excited for an idea of adding Thor to the pool list. I gave it the fair shake I do. Hung in there for a few issues, and every single issue was a chore. When I role play at night with the wife, she doesn't like the Flash. That's super fair. Well, ask her if she likes the Detective Comics. Ron V has entered what I believe is his last arc that he's going to be running on.
Yes. Yep.
Now, we've compared this Ron V run of Detective Comics to Action Comics War World Saga. That has never been more true than this week with Detective Comics issue 1081 when Riccardo Federici steps in to do interiors, and my God, they're gorgeous. So all new story arc is called Elegy of Sand. Bruce is lost. He has been spirited away out of Gotham City, taken to the deserts where Talia comes from, trying to rid the Asmir demon from inside of him. He was infected back in Gotham, and it didn't kill him. His subconscious is fighting back. He has a demon on his back, but he has Barbados helping him that is absolutely fascinated by his ability to survive through this and the demons in himself that he's wrestling with. And that's what we get, a story of him starting to understand where he's at, start to look at dealing with these demons, as well as checking in with the Question back in Gotham. Renee Montoya is on the case. That's one thing I mentioned I was interested to see how they play out this last arc is what happens in Gotham. We have the Question. We have Azrael. I want to see what these characters are doing in Batman's absence.
Beautiful issue. Absolutely. Absolutely gorgeous. Carter Federici.
I don't know who was doing the art on the Renee Montoya parts, but we would bounce back from Gotham to the desert, And the backup story was introducing us to the character that's kind of that Batman was delivered to in the desert. I already forgot his name. I'm completely unfamiliar with him.
Stefano Raphael is the guy who did the art on The Question.
And what was the backup story called? Because the backup story was our introduction.
Right. Dan Waters did wrote it.
The very last page, it tells you the story name, and the story name was the character.
Oh, Dr. Hurt. That's right, Dr. Hurt.
Dr. Hurt. Yeah, we basically have a self-help group talking to each other about these traumatic experiences in their life that were all caused by Dr. Hurt. So this group of civilians are getting together to go try to kill him. But Dr. Hurt is who Bruce was delivered to in the desert. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I said I wasn't too excited to spend a bunch of time in the psyche of Batman while he's tripping through this demon experience and stuff, but it was actually ridiculously enjoyable. Batman's like, I have to get back to Gotham, and Dr. Hurt said the horse that brought you here was dead before it got here. There's no way it's taking you back. And I'm like, yo, that's true. And I even flipped back like 2 pages ago. This horse made of sinew and bone walked into town with him dragging behind him. Like, yo, like this is so well put together. But yeah, I can't tell you how much I suggest everybody picking up Ron V's Detective Run in collected form if you're not reading it along the way. This would be a great omnibus. Like, it's such a saga the way that it's put together. What else did you read this week, TM?
That's it.
I got one more. You got any more, Paul?
I did read Batman Brave and the Bold, which finishes Tom King's and Mitch Gerard's Batman and Joker story.
That was in this issue?
Yeah.
So I got to go back. I read, because it's part 3, right?
Part 4, I think. I think it's 4 parts, I believe, total.
Okay, so I think I missed a part because they didn't do them sequentially. They did part 1, part 2, then it was gone. Yeah. Last I saw was Joker on the bus stop next to the little girl in the rain. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. The final installment was in this past week's issue, so.
I wonder if they're going to put it together and collect it or something. They really need to.
Yeah, and because each one is like 20 pages long, so you're talking like an 80-page, story. So
like a Joker one bad day.
yeah.
Was it pretty solid?
Yeah, it was. It's it wasn't to me. I think it probably would have been better if I had have read them all like sequentially. If they had, having all these breaks, these 2-3 month breaks between. It's one thing if you know that's going to happen, but like you said, I think the first two issues came out like 1-2, and then it's like,
One and
oh, it's
two.
gone for a while.
Yeah, so I stopped picking. I picked 1 and 2 up just for that story, and then
Right.
I gave them away because I just read it and sent it on to a new house, and then I didn't even know that more had come out. So I
Yeah.
have to go back and read the other two. I love the premise of it, like the first time Batman interacts or finds out about the Joker. It was creepy. It was legitimately scary. Reading this Thor run has me questioning my life choices. Yeah, and another cool thing that they did this week, then I guess it kind of ties into that with the last pickup I had. It was Penguin number 5 from Tom King. And what they did in this issue, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is Penguin has been forced to go back to Gotham and take back his place as the head of the table of the organized crime. So each issue is him putting together the elements you need to do that, from your right-hand man to your goons to your femme fatale. And now in issue 5, they do a flashback to the first Batman is introduced to Oswald Cobblepot. And in the past, he was merely a bartender at this crime dive bar where the Falcones and more would meet and talk and stuff. He was picked on, he was beat around, all this and that, and he became an informant for Batman to take out all these people that are just terrible players in Gotham City. And he was doing it under the guise of he needs a better life for himself and for his adopted mom, the only person who was ever good to him as a child through his traumatic childhood and everything. And she's kind of lost it. She's kind of in a bad way mentally and stuff. And you kind of go through him getting the information from Penguin and taking out some people and working his way up to eventually taking out the final players of the Iceberg Lounge. And Batman cutting Penguin loose, like, we've did it, you're on your own. He's like, dude, you cut me out on my own. Like, what am I going to do? Who's going to, like, I gave up my career to help you. Like, you've been paying me for this info so I could take care of my mom. What's left? He goes, man, that's the gig. You know what I mean? You have to get out there and like get to work and find a place for yourself and da-da-da-da. And Batman dips out. And Penguin's like, perfect, I will. And he goes and takes ownership of the Iceberg Lounge. Then he goes back to his mom where they're talking on the roof, because they're always meeting on the roof where their pigeon coops are. And that's where they meet Batman. And he's talking to his mom who can't even hardly process. And he's like talking about how proud she would be of him that he's made it this far. Now he's the owner of his own establishment and blah, blah, blah. And he has no one to thank but himself, and then throws her off the roof because he was only ever using her as a guise for Batman to believe him that he was good-natured. I'm like, yo, what a twist. What a twist. That was insane. It was so cool.
Did you see that they officially announced that that's only going to be a 12-issue series?
Thank God.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a 6, to be honest with you. It's really good, but I need a lot of stuff to end before April.
Right. Well, it was originally solicited as an ongoing. That's why, but now, like Tom King has said, it really is it's 12 issues.
Maxi series, perfect. He's great at Maxi series.
Mm-hmm.
My dad watched Ghost Rider last night, and when Legion said, "We are Legion," my dad called me up and said, "I didn't know your buddy Mark was in the movie." Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So are you. You know why? Because we are Legion.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of many. There's 12 of us here tonight. But I do appreciate all 12 of y'all coming here. I know a lot of people are big sports fans. There's a lot of big sports stuff going on. I have a lot of group chats on my phone that are just going off constantly about it. Every time you see Paul look to his left shoulder, that's him checking on the thing. Yeah, I appreciate you being here too, team. You're constantly repping sport teams, but yet you're here to hang out and come do the show with us, man. I appreciate both of y'all. I do want to give y'all the heads up. Between the Lines is tomorrow night. It's going to be on Roscoe's channel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. And for members, right now you can watch Dr. Von Hoot's chatting with the comic community. That's up on my channel. For non-members, it'll be up on my channel at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Yes, it'll be up on my channel. So definitely check that out. Then Wednesday night is tomorrow tonight where we'll probably be talking a little bit about Winnie the Pooh versus Bambi. That's going to be a comic coming out in the near future. And
Public domain's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Oh man, maybe we shouldn't put things in public domain after all.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. That Bambi looks pretty badass with the mechanical kind of face. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to say the least. Also coming up this week, Sector 2815. This is the every other week, so firing on all cylinders. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. is the DC Comics Deep Dive, where we break down and talk about in detail what happened this week in Beast World World Tour Star City. So if you want to know the ins and outs of that book, be sure to check that out, as well as a detailed to the events of Beast World issue number 5. We touched on it a little bit here. There's so much that happened in that book that is a huge penultimate issue. They did it right. Also, this is every other Wednesday week. So guess that key live tonight on Sector 2815, where we have special guests.
Not tonight.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Where special guests Cliff on Comicx.
Cliff on Comicx and Durs.
It's going to be a wild episode. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I got to figure out. I got to go buy a key, I guess. I don't know what to do.
Scotty, I did not yet. I'll watch it after. Like, is it the full episode you sent me, or is it just the intro?
And Mark, you've been talking about putting all these things in the Legion loot box, but this week is the big week on In the Mix on Friday night, right?
Yeah. So for the channel members, you know that me and DJ Links come together like butt cheeks every handful of months, and we do a big cross promotional channel member event. We gave away an Ultimate Fallout 4 last year, so this year we're kicking it off by giving away the first appearance of Wolverine in Incredible Hulk issue 180 and a CGC 8.0. The last one we gave away live on How Weeks In. This time we're going to do it live on In the Mix. So Friday, which will be the 2nd, Friday, February 2nd on In the Mix, we'll be drawing for the winner of that. And yeah, as you said, I'm already back to building up the Legion loot for the one following after that. I have a lot of fun stuff in there. The vlog. I started a comic vlog. I put out the first episode last week. It actually got pretty decent views for putting out the first vlog. Some good feedback I got on there. It was a blast to do. And I got the second one already uploaded. It's already ready just to switch over. Tomorrow night, I'll switch it over for members, and it'll release Wednesday. I didn't run it for 7 days like I was initially talking about. It looks like it depends on how busy I am and what I do. Depends on how many days I cover, but got about 90 hours worth of time clocked in there. Some stuff that I went and did. Me and the kids went and did some cool stuff we found, picked up some stuff. I hope everyone checks it out. I'm really enjoying doing it. I definitely see continuing that. It is really fun. I'm learning how to do some fun little simple editing tricks. And the more feedback I get, the better. Dr. Von Hoot gave me some great feedback. Lee from Whack Comics gave me some great honest feedback. Criticism is what I'm looking for here. Let me know what you enjoy. Let me know what you don't enjoy. Either way. And then tomorrow, very important video drops. It's already available for channel members, but we're looking ahead and trying to break down some clues and give some context to what the next big DC event could be and why, what we could be expecting this summer from DC Comics. So be sure to check that out. A lot of fun stuff. So appreciate everybody coming. Be sure, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up so if this gets pushed to other people, they know that it's one of these. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.